All right, everybody, welcome back to another market update video from Rake Trades. My name is Jake Ricci, here to give you guys just a little bit of an update of some stuff that I'm looking at this week, some potential moves that I'm looking for, overall what my game plan is, and yeah, so let's go ahead and just dive right in. The first thing that we've done on all of these market recap videos is review the S&P 500, right? As we always do, sort of our gauge of how the overall market is looking, how the health of the market, and yeah, just some stuff in general that we're looking at, right? So the S&P 500 closed last week at all-time highs, right? I'm not counting this after hours action and movement because I only consider regular trading hours and market hours what matters, right? And so none of this to me um, makes that much of a difference because this all occurred on the Friday when the actual market was closed, right? The futures market was open, the actual market was closed. But you can see the actual market ES closed at over 4K, right? So we got the move that we had been looking for to 4,000 for a while on ES. We did not hit it and fade away. Um, we closed well above it, right? Strong move over it. So the S&P 500 looks great, right? We see it on a weekly frame here to the left, and there was never much doubt on a weekly frame, right? We remained strong and consistent, and really no traders that I know have been bearish on the S&P itself recently. The S&P itself looks great, and so in terms of what I'm looking for in this next upcoming week, I would be really surprised if we don't go fill this gap at 39.82s and trade and hit that. If we trade the 39.82s and that holds, go long and hold until that stops holding, right? That's my thought process. Excuse me, at least is that we might back test this breakout area, but above that we're good. And if ES wants to, it can continue to stay in cruise control for a little bit. And one of the outcomes that I see as potential play for this week is a trending week, right? Where on Monday or Tuesday, we'll come down and we'll tag this 39.80s area. And then for the rest of the week, it's a slow grind where it's 20 points a day or 15 points a day where we're not making these huge percentage moves, but it's just a slow grind up. Um, I think that is a real possibility for the S&P this week, and that's kind of what I'm looking for, right? So if we were to flip to a potential bear case, we have a couple of hourly levels right here. We have a little bit of a zone, 39.42, 39.34, right? So if we lose that zone, the thing is, ES created a couple of layers of support, right? Now, again, we don't, and below 38.61, we don't have shit. Below 38.61, we are wide open for a lot more room to the downside, right? But now we have some layers where we should expect bounces, right? So whether the first hourly pullback comes to this 39.80s area and holds, whether it comes down to the 39 this zone and holds, or whether it comes down to this zone and holds, all of these areas I would be looking to hold on ES and be looking for longs in that area, right? So my game plan this week is pretty simple on the ES. Let the levels do the work for me, and then just sort of, as of now, plan to play the slow grind uptrend game, and hopefully catch a few pullbacks along the way. So that is the S&P. That is the simple one. That is how was what we sort of all knew and expected. Let's get on to what was before previously the problem child, no longer, right? So one of the scenarios that we talked about last week, and I was personally skeptical of it happening because it was a short week, because we didn't have trading on Friday, and the market said, we don't care, Jake, you're wrong. And that worked out really well for me. I had a great trading week playing this breakout, right? Exactly what I mentioned to you all on the video last time is that once we break to this higher high, we're going to have some great trade setups to take advantage of. And on Thursday and Friday, or excuse me, Wednesday and Thursday of this week, we had some phenomenal setups that came about, right? 5 and 6% moves on Square. We caught Roku, caught Tesla, right? Like there was all of these moves that came after we got the break that I was looking for. So I'm really happy with the game plan that we constructed last weekend through this market update video and how that played out. Even though it wasn't necessarily what I was looking for, because I didn't think it would happen during the short week, it happened, right? And so we played it exactly how the game plan said to. So now where do we go from here, right? Well, the Qs have left a couple of decent sized gaps. Don't expect this lower one to fill for a while, but this one to the 320s I think could fill about the same time the ES does that pullback. If we get that this upcoming week, but you look at this daily chart on NQ, or I pulled up on the QQQs because the NQ futures contracts are a little bit messed up. QQQs, I mean, it looks great. We closed over both of the previous sell areas that we had been struggling with, right? So we broke 3 daily resistances with this gap and go up and this close at high a day, right? So the Qs look great. What I'm looking for in a move potentially this week, maybe a little bit of consolidation, right? This was a large move, but then again, we have been consolidating for a while. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a break and move up towards the 330s region and then ultimately filling this gap around 330s, 331s, right? So that is on watch for the Qs. That is what I'm looking for. Again, you can see it clear as day on the hourly here, right? That we got the higher high that I've been harping about. And now a lot of you, I hope you can understand why I was such an asshole about that higher high, is because the last few weeks for me have gone really well. I've sat out a lot of the chop. I haven't been trading during this what I call the bullshit fuck zone, right? Where it was just you could scalp nice range trades, but there was so much frustration from traders on not getting continuation from certain moves. And I wasn't going through that frustration because I was waiting for this break. Now that this break has come, it's time for us to be ready. And we have to watch closely, right? So the Qs don't have much of a level of resistance because we closed of the strong close on Friday. So I'm ultimately going to be looking for, and let's get back to the NASDAQ chart for levels on this, right? Ultimately, the area that is on watch to tag is up here. This needs to be adjusted a little bit. Is this 13,350s, and then we have 394. I think QQQ could handle that within like a day, right? I think by Monday we could be at 13,500 if they want to continue this quick and extended breakout. So I haven't updated my NQ chart, but we gapped over a good amount of the levels. Sorry, let me make sure contract change is adjusted for. Okay. So I do need to wipe out a few of these, but we gapped over a lot of the levels I was looking at, right? So 150 we could come back and retest. 320 we could come back and retest. And I wouldn't be surprised if we come back and test these areas, but so long as we hold those areas, we have a lot of room to the upside, right? The NASDAQ has been playing catch up. Let me get a clean visual on for you. The NASDAQ has been playing catch up, and it's not playing catch up anymore, right? We got the close over the daily higher high. This thing is in full gear, right? So I won't spend too much more time talking about it because I don't think I need to. I think it's pretty clear how the chart is looking right now, right? So the moves that we're looking for ultimately is a move towards this we'll call it 13,500, or a retest of this 13,150 to then ultimately get long and hold back for a move toward the upside, right? So everything is looking pretty bullish on the two indices that we're watching the most, which is the NASDAQ and the S&Ps. All right. All right. So I haven't done any prep on individual names for you all yet, just mainly because I wanted to make this video early and I haven't had a chance to dive into charts yet. But there was something that I remember seeing on Friday that I want to talk about. And so rather than give some specific stuff that I'm watching this week, let's talk about some potential either or ways type of plays, right? And the names that I remember seeing that had these massive runs on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then on Thursday kind of slowed down a little bit are these growth names, right? So I'm thinking of Square, I'm thinking of Tesla, right? Again, let me get a clear drawings up here. I'm thinking of Square, I'm thinking of Tesla. They had this gap and fail, right? They gapped up and they ultimately sold off and filled their gaps or failed to go higher, right? So ultimately what I'm looking for on these names is something similar to what I was looking for on the QQQs, right? If we unlink these charts real quick and we compare the QQQ daily to the Square daily, do you see how QQQ has a higher high already, but Square doesn't? That is an example of a bearish divergence, and no, not your RSI bearish divergence. A bearish divergence on an individual equity um, compared to the index that it's supposed to be following along with, right? You can see here again, 0.1, 2, 3, and we'll highlight this box and call it 0.4. Right, on Square, we have one. Nope, gotta change this. We got 1, 2, 3, and now 4. Right, so the timings of those may be a little bit off. I don't know. But generally, the idea is the same thing, right? Lower highs on the daily time frame. Now, the Qs solved this problem. SQ did not. So, two potential moves that I'm looking for this week from Square, right? If for some reason the NASDAQ, this was a fake out, and we start heading back into the chop zone, and really start to lose a lot of the steam that we had on Wednesday and Thursday. Again, I don't anticipate that happening, but if it does, the names that you want to be looking at are the weakest names that did not follow the NASDAQ on the daily chart recently, because those are the ones that will have more potential downside room if this starts to make a pullback move, right? So what I'm looking for on Square is that this is not a good daily looking candle, right? That tests higher and fails. It's not damning, but it's not great, right? So if we can break through this low of Thursday, I could see a potential move, especially with a weak NASDAQ where we go and fill this gap. But it's after we fill that gap where things will start to get interesting, right? Because after we fill that gap, if we do, right? Again, we could just break up to 280s and I actually think that's almost more likely, but that would be an easier trade, right? Once we break the daily higher high again, look to go long for a swing, trim at all-time highs. It's simple as that, right? But on this lower high here, there's a few different ways to play it. And one of them would be if the market does revert back to its weakness, look for this gap fill. And then again, what we talked about the same thing last week, if you knock enough times on the door, someone's going to answer. If Square goes and tests 200 again, which would require a weak NASDAQ, right? I don't think that's going to happen, but it could. If it goes and tests 200 again, I would be inclined to think that this time it's going to break down below 200. We're going to finally get that 180s, 175 price range move that I've been looking for, right? So a lot of this is hypothetical, would require a weak NASDAQ, et cetera, but it's not off the table, right? There's a clear divergence between the NASDAQ chart and the QQQ chart. So what am I looking for longs on this overall, right? Let's break it down to an hourly frame, right? And get back to my main drawing set, right? So on an hourly frame, something looks like this is off about my hourly chart. But nonetheless, over this 236.93, we'll call it 237, right? We have a potential leg up towards this 243, back towards 250, right? Which is the daily lower high area, right? So for longs, you're going to have a level that was created on Friday. Oops, let me get back to my level tool. Level that was created on Friday. So that is the first sort of early entry you can look at is over that 234.5. But know that we have a level 237 right there. And getting back over that is really the key that I'm going to be looking for longs is over 237, preferably over this 243, right? Get me over this red bar from the open here on the daily, and then we can start talking about moves back to 260, 280s, because I do think those moves can come really, really fast after we break over this 243. So that's potential move to the upside on Square. Potential move to the downside. Again, you could be looking for a move. You know, if we can get below 227s, I think you could see a potential move down to fill this gap maybe, but that's going to be a harder trade. Really what you'd be looking for on that is a gap down, right? The gap's underneath 227 and sort of trails and fades down until it fills the gap. But this gap, if we get back down to it, is going to be the reaction point I'm watching. If we lose it and if we start trading back in this little bear flag area, I'm going to be looking for a move under 200, right? I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but you always have to prepare for these different scenarios and situations, right? So Square Cash, either way, as a potential play this week is something that I am watching. Okay, so another stock that I want to look at again is again that we talked about last week, which was GM. And last week, what we were looking for an entry was a breakout of this 57.2 areas, and then ultimately a break of 58.5. The reason I want to bring this one up and talk about it again is it is a really great visual of how well those levels work, right? I mean, 58.55 was our resistance. We never got over there. 57.2 was that first level break that we wanted. As soon as we broke over that, we haven't broken back under it again yet, right? We've maintained strong and building a new range between these levels. So what I'm looking for is the same thing, right? Now a move back up and over this 58.55. And really from there, we start to be clear skies a little bit, right? We'll run into a little hiccup here at 60s, 10s, 60s, 16s, just a rough level there. And then we just have our all-time high resistance, which is about 62. So for GM for this week, if you see a move, set your alerts for over 58.5. And I think that you'll have the potential to catch a really, really nice move to the upside on GM, targeting the 60s and 62s, and then subsequently all-time highs and above, right? So again, I wanted to make something that wasn't necessarily part of the tech sector on a stock that I'm watching because these non-tech stock names have been really hot lately. And even though the NASDAQ is back now, if we see some consolidation in the NASDAQ, you're going to want to have some value names that you can go to, right? So the two names that I am watching most this week are Square Cash and GM, at least from a Sunday perspective. I imagine this all might change pretty dramatically tomorrow once the market opens, once we see who opens strong, who opens weak, right? And that's really the basis of my trading is finding the strong names and finding the weak names. All right. So for me, it's going to be a limited week. I will be fully trading on Monday and Tuesday. I then get my second shot of the COVID vaccine on Tuesday night. And the first shot, I had a really strong reaction. I was sick for a few days. So I don't anticipate trading on Wednesday or Thursday. And then Friday, I will be out of town for a bachelor party, so I don't anticipate trading that day as well. So really, I'm only trading on Monday and Tuesday of this week as that I currently anticipate. I might take some scalps on Wednesday and Thursday. Definitely no trades on Friday. So it's going to be a light week for me. So the goal is really find a few nice day trades the first couple of days of the week, and then call it a week, right? Wrap up my week early. Hopefully lock in a decent amount of profit for the first full week of April. I had a great Friday, so I had a good start to that already. But really just remain patient and let the setups come to me on Monday and Tuesday, and then come back the following week ready to attack full on, sitting at the desk and really be ready to dive right in. Right. So hopefully this market video update video was helpful for you all. Again, I know we didn't, this was more educational than it was anything. Gives you guys a little bit of insight on how I do, what I look for. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for a trending week in all of the indices, right? We didn't talk too much about the Russell and the YM, but I think really the main star of the show right now is the NASDAQ, and I think that'll be the key one to watch. So with that being said, I hope you all have a great rest of your Easter Sunday. Thank you all for giving me about 20 or 15, 20 minutes of your Sunday to watch this video, and let's have a great week. Cheers, team.